Hey, David and Daniel here. So you're looking into picking up your next Sony camera, but you don't know which one to choose from. I know Sony has plenty of options to choose from, right, Daniel?
Yeah, there's a lot of options, but luckily we have Sony's own Dave Rhodes here to help you out and figure out which Sony camera will be the best for you. He's going to give you great information. He's a great guy. So watch his video. Take it away, Dave.
Hi everybody, Dave from Sony. Hey, Sony's come out with a bunch of brand new mirrorless cameras and quite a few models now. So I thought I would do a quick presentation on all of our models, APS-C and mirrorless, so you could see what does what, and maybe it'll help you decide which one you want to buy and which one that's best for you. So I put together a small presentation. I'm going to share my screen here. Share screen. And we're going to start the presentation, and hopefully you'll like this and it will help you make some decisions on what kind of camera you might be interested in. So let's get this started. So mirrorless cameras have changed quite a bit in the 10 years that Sony's been making them. We are the leader in the industry in mirrorless technology, and we've come out with a bunch of new cameras recently. So I put this together to help you decide what might be right for you, or if you're looking for a second camera, or you're looking to trade in with one of your local dealers and step up to Sony. I like to start with this video because these are this video is from B Alpha events that we were doing before the pandemic started. Great fun. We'll get back to them again. We'll be doing these workshops all over the country, and hopefully we'll see you in person again someday. But this is all shot with Sony equipment, and I like to start with this because it kind of gets my engines going. So here we go. So all that video and stuff was shot with our mirrorless full frame cameras. Sony makes quite a few models. These are just an example of our full frame. So we go from an A9. I didn't have space to put them all in. But there's an A9 Mark II, and we have an A9. Of course, we have an A7r IV, which is our highest resolution camera. That's our R stands for resolution. The A7s Iii, which is our newest camera. Let me correct that. Our newest sensitivity camera. So S stands for sensitivity. We also make an A7s II still. And then our general camera that we sell a boatload of, the A7 III, very popular. We still make the A7 II as well. And of course the A7 III, which is our new compact full frame camera. All of those cameras, plus our APS-C, will generate spectacular images for you. We try to do a camera for a specific segment of shooting, but all of our cameras take outstanding still images, and all of our cameras do high quality video and 4K video as well. So no matter what camera you choose, be assured that you're going to get excellent images as you take pictures. So as I said a few minutes ago, these are our Aps-C cameras. The top of the line is the A6600, the 6400, the 6100, the 6000, and the 5100 are all still in the lineup. We'll break those down in a few minutes of which one is best for you. And then of course we still have our flagship camera, the A9 Mark II, which is our speed camera, the A7r Mark IV, the A7r Mark III, the Mark II, the A7s Iii, the Mark II, the A7 III, and the A7 II. So quite a few full frame cameras, and our newest one, which will be out or is out on the market on October 29th, the A7C, which stands for compact. So it's the smallest full frame compact camera with interchangeable lens and image stabilization on the market. One thing that Sony does that we do the best, and that is what we're known for, is our image sensor technology. We are the #1 manufacturer of image sensors in the world, and the image sensor is the film that's in your camera. So that's what's grabbing the image. Mirrorless cameras don't have a mirror box in there to reflect the image to a viewfinder and reflect the image down to a focusing area. The sensor does all the work. That's the most important part of the camera, along with the processor. So we make quite a few different sensors for not only us, but a lot of other manufacturers out there in the world. But we make a high sensitivity sensors, we make for high resolution, we make for high speed, and then we make a fantastic all-around sensor. So all those sensors are in all of our cameras, and they all have excellent capabilities. I want to talk a little bit about sensors so you can kind of understand what they are, and this is what they look like in every camera that's out there that's digital that has a image sensor in it. When it's magnified quite a bit, this is a typical one, but when it's magnified you can see that it's green red wafer all the way across the top, and the next line is blue green wafered all the way across the line. So imagine that you have a full frame sensor. One's a 12 megapixel and one is a 42 megapixel. It's obvious that if you have a 12 megapixel and it's going to take up the same space that a 42 megapixel full frame sensor does, that the pixels will be larger. And because of that, on a 12 megapixel camera, so it's not only about the pixels, but it's also about the size of the pixels and how much they gather light. So the 12 megapixel sensor gathers a lot of light and has a very little noise in high ISO, and a larger sensor, 42 megapixels, takes up the same space, but you got to cram those pixels smaller to get 42 in there. Gives you a higher resolution, but the chance of more noise in that area because it can't, the optics that are in there, let me show you this. There's a little piece of glass over each pixel, and that's focusing the light that's coming through the lens onto the photodiode that's receiving the image. And the closer you can get these glass optics that are on the front of that sensor, the higher quality the sensor is going to be and the higher quality image is going to be overall. And then we've done some other things with our sensors. The A7r RS actually is a stacked sensor that makes communicating a lot faster. So that's our speed one that will allow our A9 Mark IIs to shoot at 20 frames per second. But our sensors, like I said, are the best in the world. And when most people don't understand when they switch from other brands is how high ISO you can shoot with our sensors. This is our A7 III. I was down in Joshua Tree, and I read on our catch-all site, which is called SonyAlphaUniverse.com, how to shoot the Milky Way. I'd never done it before, so I went on. One of our artisans had a great article on how to do it. So I read it. I went down to Joshua Tree with my A7 III, and this is my campsite, and I shot it, and these were the results. So this was our 12 to 24 millimeter. I had my exposure was at f4. It was a 30-second exposure, and it was at 6400 ISO. This is a JPEG straight out of the camera. Tremendous, tremendous sensors that we make. The lenses are incredibly sharp, and they all work together to give you an excellent image. Here's another shot I did. Same thing, just a different, but this is at 16,000 ISO with the A7 III. Remarkable, remarkable 24 megapixel camera. This is why it's the #1 seller in the world. It is a tremendous tool for taking pictures. This is our A7r III. So this is a 42 megapixel sensor. This is that smaller pixel size, but you can see it still does an excellent job in low light. These little dots right here, I don't know if they're coming through, but those are stars up there. This is at 4:30 in the morning at a workshop that we did up in Reno for the great Reno balloon race, and they do a glow early in the morning. These are stars, not pixels that it's seeing. Those are actual stars that it's seeing. So that our sensors do an excellent job. To help you understand them a little bit more, let me show you what it looks like. So this is a full frame sensor in relationship to an APS-C sensor, in relationship to a micro four thirds sensor, in relationship to a 1-inch sensor, and to a compact camera. And this would be a cell phone sensor down here, this tiny one right here. So as you can see, just like in film, the larger the sensor, the higher quality of the image, the more gathering of light, the more gathering of information, and the better the picture is going to be overall. Here's some examples of the Sony one. Sony makes for other companies, of course, and other companies make their own, but this is what an APS-C sensor would look like for Canon, Nikon, Fuji, and Sony. Panasonic Olympus makes micro four thirds, so those would be the yellow area. Our RX0, RX10, RX100 series has a 1-inch sensor in it, and then the rest of our smaller, lesser expensive compacts have a really small sensor, and then of course there's the cell phone sensors out there. So larger sensors equal more creative control, better depth of field, better bokeh, which everyone talks about all the time, and then gathers light in lower light situations. Here's another example of the variety of sensors that are out there and the cameras that they go with. So basically all this is telling you is that this is what it is, what the sensors look like. It's just no difference in film. It's just gathering the light differently and the different sizes that are going into the cameras that we make. I put this together to hopefully have you understand it a little bit more. So when your lens is on the front of your camera, here's a full frame lens, a full frame sensor. So the full frame lens, an FE lens for Sony. Wow, I have to fix this. We have 59 lenses now, which is remarkable, more than any other company in the world, and all mirrorless centric native lenses. Anyway, when you put a mirrorless full frame lens on a mirrorless camera, it'll project a round image, and of course the sensor covers it completely and you get your shot. When you put an APS-C lens, an E lens on, you get a perfectly round image to impact that APS-C sensor. What this means basically is that you can take full frame lenses, all 59 of them that we have, and put it on your APS-C camera and still will get that really, really good coverage. But because this APS-C lens, an E lens, throws a smaller image, when you put it on a full frame camera, it will crop. So you have to be careful when you put a E lens on a full frame camera. And this goes for the Tamron and the Sigmas that are out there too. If you're buying some other lenses to go on your camera, which is perfectly fine, that's why they make them, just make sure if you have a full frame camera, you're buying a full frame lens, and if you have an APS-C sensor, that you're buying an APS-C lens for your camera. Here's an example though. If you take a full frame lens and put it on a APS-C camera, our cameras will automatically adjust to what they call APS-C Super 35. So here's what it would look like with a wide angle. So we take that lens off and we put on a full frame lens, and this is the normal magnification that you would get if you were standing in this area to take this picture with a 70 to 300, for instance. In actuality, that is because of the sensor size, is a 105 to 450, and you get more magnification on your image because the sensor is smaller, but the magnification of the lens stays the same. So you're getting that extra telephoto. So a lot of people like that, and that's the very reason a lot of people buy APS-C. It's not only smaller and lighter, but then they get more reach out of their current or lenses that they end up buying. So please keep in mind that full frame and APS-C are the two cameras that we're going to be talking about the most, but there also are 1-inch sensors and DSC sensors out there. This is for our smaller point and shoot cameras, very reasonably priced. This is for our 1-inch sensors that are medium to high priced, and these are our two interchangeable lens cameras that we make, sensors that we make for our interchangeable cameras. And that's basically what I'm going to concentrate on today. So APS-C, we have quite a few. Here's kind of an array of what they look like and our full frame. They use the same mount, which is a key, but they all take fantastic, great pictures. Easy to use. I've actually taken my older APS-C camera and had it converted to infrared. So this picture up here is infrared. So you can get very creative with your cameras. You don't always have to trade them in, but you can use them, give them to a friend or a neighbor, or convert them to infrared like I did here. Our newest camera is the A7s Iii. It takes extremely low light. I got my camera on a Friday afternoon. That evening I went out and took a shot of my house. That's Venus right there. These are stars. I don't know if they're coming through, but you can see those. Absolutely outstanding. And again, the sensor is we make the best sensors in the world. This was, believe it or not, handheld, our new 20mm f1.8 at f8 at a half a second exposure at 12,800 ISO. Shot straight. This is a JPEG straight out of my camera. I just wanted to do it as easy, as simple as possible, as you can see what kind of quality of sensors and cameras you're getting from Sony. Now, what size or what kind of megapixel should I buy? Well, that all depends on what you're going to be using it for and how you're going to be using it. So, in general, if you use a 24 megapixel camera, we'll start with that. The last one I just showed you was our new 12 megapixel camera, which is a video-centric camera. And we'll talk about the versatility of a mirrorless camera for video and for still imaging here in a few minutes. But let me show you. So in general, a 24 megapixel camera can show a 23 by 15 print size with absolutely no problem whatsoever. Nice, sharp, clear crystal images. You can go larger, of course. I've taken 24 megapixels up to 20 by 30s with no problem. But on your computer, if you decide to crop, it would help to have a 61 megapixel camera to actually zoom in and crop, or you leave it the original size and you can blow it up to 60 inches by 40 inches. Huge, huge change. So it gives you an idea of how much more resolution you get. And this is why landscape photographers, some wildlife photographers, studio photographers are using our 42 and 61 megapixels cameras, because it gives them the opportunity to crop that image in post and blow it up and get the shot that they want to have. Another important thing to understand about Sony and our mirrorless cameras is nearly all of them have 5-axis optical in-body image stabilization. That's quite a mouthful. We call it IBIS, and it gives you 5.5 steps of shutter speed advantage, and it adjusts the yaw, pitch, and roll when you're moving the camera. So just like when you look through a pair of binoculars and everything seems really shaky, when you put a powerful lens on there, or any lens as a matter of fact, you're moving if you're not on a tripod, and the camera has a chance of blurring that image because it's yaw, pitch, and roll. You're moving in different directions. So what Sony did is they've engineered in-camera IBIS 5-axis that gives you between 4.5 and 5.5 stops of exposure in dark situations. And you can see here with the image stabilization off and with it on with an extreme telephoto lens, what a good job it does. It's excellent for macro as well, and in low light. So it really just gives you an excellent chance to get the image, to get the shot that you want. And every one of our cameras either has it in the body or in the lens or in both. This is an example video of our A7 2, I believe, and the image stabilization that we have in that camera. But it gives you an idea of how all of our image stabilization works. Oops. So, let me go back. A lot of people have asked me if this works in video, and absolutely yes. So the advantage of in-body image stabilization is it works in video as well as still imaging, and it's almost even more important to have that image stabilization when you're shooting video, unless you have your camera on a gimbal. You want it to react. Our newer cameras actually have real-time image stabilization, and it talks. There's a device in there that actually monitors how much you're shaking, and it sends the information to the IBIS, and it corrects your shake as you're walking or what have you. And here's a kind of a very good example. In the active mode and in the off. Image stabilization also works, by the way. We have it in our point and shoot cameras, quite a few of them, all of our RX cameras, and especially the ones with the longer telephoto zooms. So check those out as well if full frame or APS-C interchangeable lens cameras are not what you're interested in. But we still have that technology. The beauty of Sony and developing all this technology is that technology filters down to our lower cameras as well. So autofocus is the other thing that put us on the map. We are the leader in autofocus technology. We invented it, and it gives you an opportunity to set your cameras. And the reason we're buying mirrorless autofocus cameras to hopefully do all that work for you. You can see here, most of our cameras have an extremely wide autofocus area. This particular one is the A7 III, 797 focusing points. Absolutely amazing with image focusing, and you can, of course, control that yourself. It also has eye focus, animal eye focus, focus tracking, and I have a short video, a few examples here for you to see how really amazing the Sony focusing systems are. So the camera detects the subject, locks onto the subject, has face detection and eye detection. And this is doing this in some of our cameras 60 times a second, 60 times a second, calculating that information very rapidly. We call it 4D autofocus, and it's showing you how it sees the subject, again, It does this through our AI technology. Touchscreen, you can touch focus and it'll lock on the subject and track it. In video in some of our cameras, and still imaging in almost all of our cameras. Another new feature of ours is you can adjust the stickiness or how much it sticks on the subject, and even when there's something getting in front of the eye for the eye focus technology, it will stay locked right on. Here obviously you see a ribbon dancer and she's moving her ribbon right in front of the focusing element, but it's staying locked on to her eyes perfectly. And the biggest innovation we had last year that everyone is just in love with is our animal eye focus. Works cats, dogs, big cats, animals, and we keep improving this over and over and over again. So anytime you get a firmware update on your camera, it's always improving the animal eye focus, which is remarkable. Our newer cameras, even the A7s Iii, well, I don't know that for sure, so I'm not going to say it. This is shot with the A7r IV at 10 frames per second, and it's tracking this bird, osprey, I don't know what it is actually, and you can see that it's crystal sharp, and it did the eye focus and track the subject perfectly. In human eye focus, it will stay locked onto the subject, and whether the subject's looking at you or not, if anything gets in the way, it stays locked right on. It has an amazing capability in still imaging and in video in the new A7s Iii and some of our other cameras. Sony goes all at this with their 5 fundamentals. And basically what that means is when they're building a camera, they look at the entire life of that camera and what it needs to be a tool to help you take good, easy, quality pictures. So they look at the lens to be working with the body, and they look at the body and make sure it works well with the lens. And how is that going to work in real life situations? And am I going to have enough battery power to do it? But still making it compact and light and easy to use. So in-house development is the key for all of the Sony innovations that you get in your cameras. And like I said before, once we invent it and put it on the higher end cameras, a lot of that same technology filters down to the other cameras. Excuse me. We have lens elements that we design. We design the lenses, lens actuators to help the lens matched with a mirrorless camera to focus quickly. Our lens construction is very strong. We've already talked about image sensors. Our image processors, we have specific image processors for specific cameras to help them process all that information that's coming in. We're the #1 manufacturer in viewfinder OLEDs in the world. And of course our bodies are always very strong and weather resistant and rigid. So one of the beauty about Sony is when we started just doing this 10 years ago, and everyone thought we were crazy because mirrored cameras were it, and we went to mirrorless. When they decided to do this, they decided that they would go with a very robust mount, strong bodies, lots of innovation, develop it all in-house. And like I said earlier, we have 59 lenses that work with all of our still imaging and video cameras. But the unique thing about that is we have one mount that fits every single camera that we've made. And you don't need to know when it was made, what year it was made, what month it was made, but all of the lenses that we have fit the same camera, fit the same mount. It's called an E-mount. And we have people, quite very, very many current video directors and cinematographers that started with our Alpha line and now are using the same lenses in video production, in TV production, and in movies. The new Top Gun 2, or whatever it's going to be called, that's coming out next summer, was filmed. Quite a few of the scenes, I don't know if all the scenes, but quite a few of the scenes were filmed with our new Venice camera, all the action scenes and everything. And again, they're using the same E-mount lenses that you have available for all of our mirrorless cameras. It's an amazing system once you're in it. Just to show you some of the variety that we have in our 59 lenses that we have. I live in Northern California, so I went down to the beach and took some shots, and it's kind of hard to see here, but 12 millimeters all the way to 600 millimeters, and that changes. All I did is change the lenses, kept it all in the same spot, and then also this one is 1200 millimeters. So look at the difference. We're going for that tower right there to here, 1200 millimeters with our new 200 to 600 and a teleconverter, a 2x teleconverter. So all those lenses, same sharpness, same eligibility for all of the cameras that we're making. So the cameras are not only still image capability, but really what put us on the map and really the market embraced us was that they're not only mirrorless cameras, but they're also video marvels. They can, every single camera that we make mirrorless wise can take a high quality video image on the same memory card that you're using to take your still imaging, by the way. Some do more than others, of course. That's only natural, but all of them will take high quality 4K video out there. Here's kind of an example of the cameras that we have, a few of the cameras that we have, and the 4K settings that you get. What you'll learn quickly when you start learning about video is that there's different ways to gather that information, because it is a lot of information. How much is it gathering? How much do you want to do in post? How much oversampling or color rendition do you want? Is it 4K? Is it 1080p? Is it slow motion? Is it time lapse? That type of thing. But when you have a full frame sensor, a full image sensor, even your APS-C can do 4K video. This gives you all the different kinds of choices that you can get in your camera. You have all these selections that you can choose to do video, and depends on the end result that you're looking for. If you're going to be showing it at home to the family, you're going to be emailing it, you're going to be going into the studio to do video production, you're making a movie, there's all different choices and all different ways that you would use it. Here's a few examples though of what our cameras can do. Keep in mind, these are all shot in the auto mode, and they are gathering and focusing automatically. This shot in very, very low light. This is the new A7s Iii. Remarkable how well this camera works in low light. It's designed to do mostly video, but it can do still imaging as well. If you like to play around, I shot this again at that balloon event. This is a time lapse, which our cameras will do in video and still imaging. And it will do slow motion video as well. The cameras are incredibly useful and can be used in all different kinds of ways to shoot video and still imaging. They're built with strong construction in mind for the camera that you're not going to just buy and get rid of in a year. You keep it for the lifetime of the camera. They're very durable, weather resistant, dust resistant. This is an example of all the seals that are in the cameras to help them be more durable and last a long time. Of course, the higher priced cameras are going to have more seals on them than the lower priced ones, but then they're a little bit bigger as well. But they're all made to a high quality standard, and they're all made by Sony in our factories. So let's talk about a little bit about the cameras themselves right now. Those are a lot of the features that all of these cameras have, some with a higher degree than others, but this will give you an idea of what, if you're buying a camera, for what you should use it for. These are in general what happens out there in the market. The A9 Mark II and the A9 are our pro cameras. They're our flagship cameras, as they call them. A lot of professional photographers, we were just chosen by AP. This is the camera that all the AP photographers are now using. If you've been watching any of the campaign or debates and you see people taking pictures out there, I'm spotting Sony A9s all over the place because those are the cameras of choice. Almost every one of our cameras can be shot in silent mode, which is tremendous, especially if you are shooting pictures during a live event. To have it do silent shooting is a huge advantage for wedding photographers, for sport photographers, wildlife, science, press, any of those things. So the A9 Mark II and the A9 are huge choices for these situations. 20 frames per second continuous shooting, 4K 24p video with full autofocus and auto exposure. It calculates the image 60 times per second, more than any other camera in the world. Blackout free shooting, real-time tracking, real-time eye focus, real-time animal eye focus, 693 focusing points, and 5.5 stops of image stabilization. Just a tremendous flagship camera. Basically built on the same platform is the A7r Mark IV. Again, a lot of the same kind of photographers are using this. We do have a lot of artists and landscape photographers buying this camera as well. And of course, the big difference here is this is a 61 megapixel camera. Our A7r Iii, which we'll talk about here in a second, has 42 megapixels, but you'll notice the features are pretty close to the same. This does calculations at 60 frames per second also. Because of the file size, it can shoot at 10 frames per second and still keep up with the focus and the eye focus and the image exposure as well. World's fastest readout and the world's highest quality OLED finder until we just beat ourselves with the new A7 III, which we'll talk about in a minute. So here's the A7r Iii. Again, same type of customer looking for this, same photographer using them the same. It's just a 42 megapixel. If you don't need that quite as much as that 61 megapixels, and you can save a little bit of money going with our A7r Iii. Still in production, still a very popular camera. It's not discontinued. It's still a camera that we're selling quite a few of them, and they are 42 megapixels as opposed to the 61 megapixels. And our newest video-centric camera, the A7s Iii, got a lot of buzz when it was announced a couple months ago. 4K 120 full frame, up to 240 frames per second in full autofocus and AE with our new Benzi XR processor. Crazy good videos. Professional videographers, wedding photographers, documentary photographers, storytellers. Science is buying these so they can slow down the image, shoot it at high speed and slow it down, and use it to analyze things that are being made or things that are exploding or that type of thing. It's an amazing camera. Still very hard to get. You got to get in line, but I would recommend that you shop local, and those stores can get that camera relatively fast because they have a shorter list. So, and that goes for all of our cameras. Any of them that are hot, they're all very highly sought after. But your local brick and mortar is going to have the cameras just as fast or faster than the large mail order because they have shorter lists, and they are local, and they can help you figure out how to use the camera and teach you how to use it. And they offer classes and workshops as well. Our biggest seller, the number one seller in the world, is the A7 III. This camera is our all-everything camera. It not only does 4K high-quality video, but it does spectacular still imaging, as you saw in the Milky Way shots that I showed you earlier. So we have lots of professionals using this camera. Wedding photographers, sport photographers, backup body for some people. They have more than one body. They have one lens on one and one lens on another. For video photographers, it's a great all-around camera to use in those situations. And our newest camera, which is coming out on October 29th, depending on when you're watching this, it may already be out, is our A7C. It's basically the camera you just saw, the A7 III, in a small compact body with a brand new 28 to 60 millimeter lens. Very compact. A lot of the same features, just in a very small design. I just got mine a few days ago. The camera's just unbelievable. And it sure is easy to carry around and makes it a lot nicer for weight-wise and everything. Still uses all 59 of our lenses, no problem whatsoever. It's just a smaller package for that photographer that wants to carry around less weight. And now our Aps-C cameras. Again, we have a lot of professional photographers, especially videographers, using the A6600. It is a smaller sensor, which makes the body smaller, which makes the lenses smaller, which makes everything lighter, but it's still very high quality 4K video, 24 megapixel sensors, so you get very, very good 20 by 30 enlargements. Shoots at 11 frames per second, processing all that images and tracking all the focusing and the auto exposure all at the same time. Real-time AF tracking, 5-axis in-body image stabilization, even in the small body. Our Aps-C flagship camera called the A6600. And then the 6400 for a little better value, a little less money. Doesn't have the in-body image stabilization, but the lens that you get for it and comes with it does have a steady shot built into the lens. So you still are getting that image stabilization. Again, a great camera for video, for someone that's starting out, for maybe a son or a daughter, or someone that wants to just get started into mirrorless technology. The A6400, and I put professional photographers in here because, again, we have lots of professional photographers that start here and work their way up through the lineup. And then our starter camera in mirrorless is this 6100. It's our newest starting camera. I think this runs in the $600 to $650 price point. 24 megapixel sensor. Anyone that's new to photography, who wants to get into photography or into mirrorless, this is a great camera or a great gift for them. Family photographs, sports, video, vloggers. It has interchangeable lenses. It has a screen that tilts up, and it has a nice bright viewfinder that you can use as well. And I couldn't resist putting this camera in. This is our newest fixed lens. This is the Sony Zv1. It's just hitting the stores, very hard to get. As a matter of fact, yesterday we announced a white version of this as well. So we had such trouble supplying this to the US that the Japanese are very kind, and they're sending us the white version as well. So now you'll have a choice of a all white, which is a gorgeous looking camera, and the Zv1 regular. This is made for vlogging, and you can see it has eye focus in video as well as still imaging. A flip screen that flips all the way around. Great for YouTubers, great for travel, product shots, family pictures. Just a small, compact, fit in your pocket camera that is a great value at $699. Here's a little eye chart for you to look at to show all the different cameras that we have available in mirrorless with interchangeable lenses, what they all do, and you can see that they all do IAF, what mounts they take, how fast they shoot, how fast the silent shutter that's available, and you can see that's in everything but the A6000 and the 5100. Silent shooting is very important to a lot of people. Animal eye focus, human eye focus, focus tracking, they all have that capability. So just check with your local dealer and they'll help you decide which one really is for you. I hope I helped a little bit. I wanted to show this last video about what we do to test our equipment out there and to make sure that people, that these cameras are going to work for you. This is a video that we gave to a few of our artisans. They got it 4 months before it was available. The camera was available to the market, just to put it through its paces to see what it can do. And this entire video was shot with a Sony mirrorless camera, and I just think it's just spectacular what they did with it.
What is creativity to me?
I guess you'd say it's my oxygen. It's how I breathe.
It's how I speak, it's how I communicate.
It's how I look at the world.
I don't think I'd be human without it.
Creativity is necessary. For me, it's therapeutic.
It's the difference between living and existing. Maybe now, more than ever, storytelling feels like it really means something.
There's a real chance for revolution, and I've used that word specifically.
As photographers, we design worlds and create these experiences for others to view through our work.
I pick up a tool, a camera, and that's my modality of creativity, but you can go out and you can express yourself any way you want. We all have a different thumbprint.
When I have a camera in my hand, it's when I feel most comfortable. When I'm out exploring, out shooting, that's when I feel most at peace.
Now the technology just keeps getting better and better and better.
The A7s changed my career. I mean, I could see in the dark, basically, and there's no other way to put it, right? A veil had been lifted.
It completely transformed what I could even imagine was possible.
It was just a huge deal back then, and still a big deal now, and for the S3 to come out is massive.
I think some people didn't actually think it would ever exist.
If I know one thing about Sony, the A7s Iii is going to be a complete game changer.
Come on, baby.
Woo! 120 frames per second at 4K. In the dark.
I feel like the things that your eyes are able to see with this camera, it's like you're in a completely different world.
Do you mind standing on the edge? This is mental, dude.
We're shooting at 20,000 ISO.
That's perfectly clean.
The autofocus is by far superior.
The screen feels nice and solid.
Man, this flip screen is so nice. Oh my god. How sick is that?
This is unreal.
Crazy. I seriously want to go back to every place I've ever been and shoot it with this camera.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Alright, so we're going to take it from the top. Bucket to bucket to bucket to chop.
When there is no income, when there is no job, when there is no project, like, what does a camera mean? What does it do for you? It still gives you some sense of purpose.
Every once in a while, something comes around that changes the way we see the world.
It's one thing to have something that can shoot rad slow motion and low light, but to have it in a small package can help you tell more meaningful stories.
Some of the best shots of our lives right here, guys.
Isn't that the whole point of creativity, to share your stories, to make a connection? This is why I love shooting. It brings people together on both sides of the camera.
And I would say that in many ways, that's what the world needs more of. It needs more of your perspective, your vision.
And when you find other people that share that vision, that's when you find your family.
So I just love that. When you can impress professional photographers with a piece of equipment, then I think that that Sony's done their job. I will mention again, shop local. They're all struggling right now because of the pandemic and everything, and so we need to help them as much as possible. And then after the fact, when you purchase your camera, you're going to want their help. You're going to want to know what lens to buy. You're going to know what case, what batteries, what extra SD cards or whatever you're going to need. They are photographers. They are in your community, and they can help tremendously. So I can't say enough about that. If you have any other questions, they can answer those as well. This is my information here. Happy to help you. My email's there at the bottom. And if you need any help, we're there. Thanks for joining us, and hope this has helped.